As we continue reciting our slichos, approaching the very auspicious and very serious time of the year of the Yom HaNoroim, let me share with you a pasuk from this forthcoming Parshas Nitzavim Sedra that I believe will give us a sense of buoyancy. The psukim state that after the brachos and klalos that have been spoken of in the previous weeks have actually occurred to the nation of Israel, then ultimately we are told, Vishavta ad Hashem Elokecha v'shamata v'kolo, that we will return to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and we will hearken to his voice, we and our children, with a full heart and a full soul. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu will then take us from all of the corners of the world, bringing us to Eretz Yisrael. And the pasuk states, V'hosircha Adonai Elohecha b'chol ma'aseh yodecha b'fri vitnecha b'fri vehemtecha b'fri ad mascha l'tov. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bless us with our children, with any of our produce, with any of our land. Ki yashuv Adonai la'asusa lecha l'tov, for God will return to rejoice with you for good, kasher sasa l'vasecha, as he rejoiced with your forebears. How did he rejoice? With the avos and the imahos? I believe the answer is to be found in the Haftorah for this coming Shabbos, where the Navi Yeshaya describes the ultimate geula, and he says, Lo yeyomer lach od azuva uli arzech, lo yeyomer od shemama, that when the time of the geula, of the redemption, will ultimately arrive, people will no longer speak of Eretz Yisrael having been the forsaken land that has now been remembered. And people will no longer speak of the nation of Israel as the banished nation that is now being returned, but rather, Ki yival bachor besula yivaluch banoyach, umesos chasen al kala yosis alayich alokoyach. But rather, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will bring us back to Eretz Yisrael, and we will become one with him, as a bachor and a besula, as a chasen and a kala, getting married, each one for the very first time. And there will be a festive rejoicing, as is only to be found at a wedding between a chasan and a kala. And comes along the Malbim and he says, lest one think that at the time of the Geula, people will say, well, yes, Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, is flourishing once again. But it was barren for so long because it had been punished by God. And the people within his people, the nation of Israel, were indeed exited from the land of Israel into Galus. And now they've been brought back and there has been a reunification. But everyone knows that when a husband and wife were separated for a point in time, and then they reunite, says the Malbim, then one understands she'eina hava shlema, that the love, which is serious, which is real, which is cogent, but it's not like the original love. And thusly, ve'ein osim esos v'rikud v'simcha b'farhesia, that second wedding, as it were, it's toned down. The music is more muted. The simcha, the rejoicing, is less regaling. And it's done so much still a hate, in quiet, in a more modest manner, without people necessarily knowing about it, let alone participating. Says the Malbim and the Navi Yeshayahu, this will not be the case. The ultimate geula will be rak himsos chasan al kala shelo ba aleha meyolam v'lo ka'as aleha meyamav. It will be a rejoining between HaKadosh Baruch Hu and Klal Yisrael, as if we were never sent afar, as if HaKadosh Baruch Hu was never angered at us, like a chasan and a kala on the day of their wedding. And it will be indeed a day that there will be rikud, v'simcha, b'farhesia. It will be a day where the whole world will know that we, the people of Klal Yisrael, have been reunited with Hashem Yisbarach, and everyone is dancing. Why, there will be the light forthcoming from Yerushalayim Kodesh that will cover the world as the menorah shown on every chaser in Yerushalayim at the time of the Chanukah Nes. The whole world will stand up and sit up and recognize that we are home again. And we are home again, not as a renewal, so much as a first-time rejoicing. So as we approach Ribono Shel Olam, and as we enter the Yemei Hadin, Rosh Hashanah, And we ask for so much. And we ask for forgiveness. And we ask for a new year, and for health, and for parnasa, and for shalom, and for peace, and for everything wonderful. Let's recommit ourselves to Kodesh Baruch Hu in a fashion with more seriousness, with more commitment to greater minyan attendance, commitment to greater learning, commitment to greater patience and love and compassion and understanding for our family members, for our friends, for our neighbors, for Klal Yisrael, all of Klal Yisrael, no matter what level they are on. An appreciation that we should have for Eretz Yisrael, that is our greatest gift from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, from Hashem Yisbarach. And when we make that commitment, why then, V'shavta ad Hashem Elokecha, we can feel, indeed, God willing, ourselves returning to the Eibishter, feeling his embrace like a chassan for a kala. I've been at many a wedding that I've seen a chassan who isn't in such great shape, and somehow he manages to dance with all of his chavreim, all of his friends, his rabbeim, and he manages to dance before his kala with the greatest of gusto, and the greatest of glee, and the greatest of simcha and ahava, of rejoicing and love. As we enter the Yemei Hadim, and we do so understandably with trepidation, let's remind ourselves, if we return in proper fashion, why then we can dance our way into the year Tafshin Pei Gimel, 5783, joining with HaKadosh Baruch Hu by the chuppah of Har Sinai, re-promising and committing ourselves to all that has been bestowed upon us, and basking in the glory of the love, the comfort, and security of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Iksiva v'chasima to everyone, to all, for a good gebench jar with every bracha that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can bestow upon us. Have a wonderful Shabbos.